You bought a $799 Samsung at Best Buy 6 months ago. The picture looked incredible under those showroom lights. The salesperson said it was their best seller. The reviews online said it was a steal for the price. Then last Tuesday, you noticed it. A faint pink tint creeping across the right side of the screen. You called Samsung support. You sat on hold for 52 minutes. When someone finally answered, they told you it might be a software issue and walked you through a factory reset that fixed nothing. Then they said they'd escalate it. That was 3 weeks ago. Here's what they didn't tell you at the store. The TV you're looking at right now has settings that are actively working against the picture quality, the lifespan, and sometimes the electricity bill. And nobody, not the salesperson, not the box, not the manual, ever tells you to change them. Consumer Reports surveys tens of thousands of real TV owners every year. The data is clear. A significant chunk of reliability complaints aren't hardware failures. They're accelerated wear caused by factory default settings that were never meant to be left on long term. That's the difference between a TV that gives you 10 solid years and one that develops problems in year 2, while you're still paying it off on a store credit card. Here's what's actually going on inside your TV right now, which settings are quietly damaging it, and exactly what to change the moment this video ends. The first mistake, leaving vivid mode on. Walk into any electronics store, and every TV on the wall is set to vivid mode. Sometimes it's called dynamic, sometimes it's called torch mode by display engineers who know exactly what it's doing. Vivid mode cranks brightness to maximum. On most mid-range TVs, that means the backlight is running at 100% output, all the time. RTI teams ran extended panel longevity tests on LED TVs and found that backlights running at full brightness degrade significantly faster than those running at 50 to 70%. That matters because backlight failure is the #1 physical cause of premature TV death. Not the panel itself, the backlight strips behind it. Here's the consequence. On a $699 TV with a 3-year warranty, a backlight failure at month 37, just outside coverage, comes with a repair quote between $200 and $350. Most people throw the TV away. The repair costs more than it's worth. One Reddit user in the r/4K TV forum put it plainly. Had my LG for 2 years on vivid mode because I liked how bright it was. Now I've got this weird brightness inconsistency across the bottom quarter of the screen. Tech said the backlight strips are unevenly worn. Warranty expired 6 weeks ago. 2 months, I missed it by 2 months. Bottom line, turn off vivid mode today. Switch to cinema, movie, or filmmaker mode. It looks less punchy in the first 5 minutes. After that, you won't miss it, and your backlight will last years longer. But here's where it gets more complicated. Vivid mode isn't the only brightness setting quietly running your TV into the ground. The second mistake, leaving the peak brightness maxed out even in the right mode. You switch to cinema mode. Good. You're already ahead of most people. But here's what most people don't know. Inside cinema or movie mode, the backlight control is often still set to 80 or 100 out of 100. The mode changes the color processing. The backlight slider is separate. RTI's measured the actual brightness output of 14 popular TVs in their default cinema mode settings. 11 of them still had backlight intensity above 70%. 3 had it above 85%. At 50% backlight, your TV puts out more than enough light for any normally lit living room. The Department of Energy puts average ambient light in a home living room between 50 and 150 lux. At 50% backlight, most modern LED TVs output far above that. You're not losing anything in terms of watchability. What you're gaining is longevity. Dimmer backlight means cooler operating temperatures inside the panel. Electronics hate heat. Heat is the reason capacitors fail, the reason solder joints crack over time, the reason the little components on the control board inside your TV don't last as long as they should. One Best Buy verified reviewer wrote, "Tech friend told me to drop my backlight to 45 after I bought my TCL. 3 years later, it's still perfect, while my coworker's identical model looks noticeably dimmer and washed out. Same TV. He left his maxed. Bottom line, drop your backlight setting to between 40 and 55 in a typical living room. You will not notice the difference in picture quality after 10 minutes. You will notice the difference in how long your TV lasts. The third mistake, motion smoothing. And almost nobody turns it off. This one actually makes your TV look worse. Right now, motion smoothing goes by a lot of names. Samsung calls it Auto Motion Plus. LG calls it True Motion. Sony calls it Motion Flow. Every major brand has a version of it, and on most TVs, it's turned on by default. What it does, it inserts artificial frames between real ones to make motion look smoother. The result is called the soap opera effect. Everything, movies, dramas, documentary footage, looks like it was shot on a cheap camcorder. Directors hate it. Cinematographers hate it. The Directors Guild of America has publicly asked consumers to turn it off because it destroys the visual intent of every piece of content created for cinema. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about. Motion smoothing also adds processing load. Your TV's internal chip is generating synthetic frames constantly. More processing means more heat. More heat means accelerated wear on the processing board. It also introduces input lag for gaming. Ordieng's measured input lag on a 65-inch Samsung QN90B with motion smoothing on at 41.5 milliseconds. With it off, 13.4 milliseconds. That's a 208% increase in lag. For games, that's the difference between feeling responsive and feeling like you're playing through a slight delay. An Amazon-verified reviewer for a Sony Bravia X90L wrote, "Watched movies for 2 years, thinking my TV just had that weird, overly smooth look. A friend came over and asked why everything looked like a daytime soap. Turned off motion flow, and it was like getting a completely different TV. I can't believe nobody told me this was on." Bottom line, turn off motion smoothing entirely. Every single brand, every single TV. Find it in the picture settings. Look for the motion or smoothness slider. Set it to 0 or off. Your movies will look like movies again. The fourth mistake, energy-saving mode that's actually sabotaging your picture. Here's the surprise. Energy-saving mode sounds responsible. It sounds like you're doing the right thing. On some TVs, it absolutely is the right thing. On others, it creates a different problem entirely. The issue is inconsistency. Some manufacturers implement energy saving in a way that dynamically dims the backlight based on content brightness. Bright scene, backlight up. Dark scene, backlight down. That's fine. That's actually how OLED TVs inherently work, and part of why they look so good. But on certain budget LED TVs, especially models from Hisense and TCL, in the $399 to $699 range, energy-saving mode activates a separate automatic brightness limiter that can cause visible flickering during brightness transitions. Owners on the TCL subreddit have documented this extensively on the 5 Series and 6 Series models. The more serious issue, on some Vizio models, energy-saving mode conflicts with HDR processing. Your TV is supposed to expand the brightness range for HDR content. Energy-saving mode can cap that expansion, meaning you're watching HDR content that isn't actually displaying as HDR. You paid for HDR. You're watching SDR with an HDR label. One Costco-verified reviewer wrote about a Vizio P-Series. Couldn't figure out why my 4K HDR movies looked flat compared to my buddy's TV. Turned out energy saving was capping the brightness. Turned it off, and HDR scenes finally looked like they were supposed to. Spent 6 months watching the wrong picture. Bottom line, disable energy saving mode. Instead, manually set your backlight to 45 to 55% as described earlier. You get the power savings without the picture compromise or the processing conflicts. But the setting that causes the most long-term damage isn't the one you'd expect, and almost no one knows it's happening. The fifth mistake, leaving auto update on and ignoring what it's actually installing. Most people treat smart TV firmware updates like phone updates. Just let it do its thing. The problem is that smart TV manufacturers have been quietly expanding the permissions and data collection behavior of their platforms with each update cycle. This isn't speculation, it's documented in privacy policy language changes that almost nobody reads. More importantly for reliability, a bad firmware update can brick a TV or permanently degrade its performance. This is not a hypothetical. In 2022, Vizio pushed a firmware update that caused widespread audio sync issues on their V-Series and M-Series TVs. Thousands of owners reported the problem on Reddit and the Vizio support forums. The fix took Vizio 4 months to release. During those 4 months, those owners had TVs where the audio was consistently out of sync with the video. LG had a similar situation in 2023 with an update to WebOS that caused certain OLED models to run their automatic pixel refresh cycle less frequently. Which matters because OLED panels rely on that cycle to prevent permanent burn-in. Sony's firmware updates have generally been more stable, but even Sony pushed an update in late 2023 that caused Dolby Vision processing bugs on the X90L and X95L series, requiring a second patch to fix. One owner on the AVS forum wrote, "Updated my LG C2 overnight. Woke up and my HDR settings had been reset. My game optimizer was turned off, and the TV was running some new energy dashboard feature I never asked for. Took me an hour to get everything back to where I had it." Bottom line, don't leave your TV set to auto-update. Switch to manual updates. When a new firmware drops, wait 2 to 3 weeks and search Reddit and the brand's support forums for reports of issues. Let other people find the problems first, then update if it looks clean. The 6th mistake: using the built-in smart platform when it's slowing down. This one's subtle, but it's costing you time and quietly frustrating millions of people every day. Smart TV platforms are built on processors that were mid-range at launch and age quickly. Roku's own TV platform is the exception. It's optimized efficiently and tends to run well longer. Google TV, which ships on Sony and some Hisense models, is reasonably maintained. Samsung's Tizen and LG's WebOS are more bloated over time. Samsung TVs launched between 2018 and 2021 now run Tizen notably slower than they did at launch. The platform receives updates, but those updates also add features and services that the original processor wasn't designed to handle at full speed. The result is menus that stutter, apps that take 8 to 12 seconds to load instead of 2 to 3, and voice commands that frequently fail to register. The solution that millions of people have already figured out: a $30 to $50 Roku Streaming Stick 4K or Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K Max plugged into your HDMI port gives you a faster, more responsive experience than your TV's built-in platform, regardless of what brand of TV you own. Yertings noted in their 2024 Smart TV Interface Evaluation that external streaming sticks consistently outperformed built-in platforms in app load times, UI responsiveness, and long-term software support. One Amazon reviewer with a 65-inch Samsung from 2020 wrote, "The built-in apps became so slow, I started dreading turning on the TV. My nephew plugged in a Roku stick, and everything just works now. I basically use my expensive Samsung as a dumb monitor with a great screen and run everything through the Roku." Bottom line, if your smart TV's built-in platform is running slow, and after 2 or 3 years, most do, buy a streaming stick. Don't fight the system, route around it. Your TV becomes dramatically more enjoyable to use overnight. The 7th mistake: never running the OLED pixel refresh cycle manually. If you own an OLED, this is OLED specific. If you have an LED or QLED TV, skip ahead. If you have an LG, Sony, or Samsung OLED, pay attention. OLED panels are vulnerable to image retention and permanent burn-in. LG, the dominant OLED panel manufacturer, builds in an automatic pixel refresh cycle that runs when the TV has been on for a certain number of hours. The problem: auto refresh usually only triggers after extended continuous use, and many people turn their TV off before the cycle completes. LG's own support documentation recommends running the pixel refresh manually every 2,000 hours of viewing time. That's roughly 18 months of typical use. The manual refresh runs for about an hour and should be done with the TV off. Ratings ran long-term burn-in tests on LG OLEDs across a 15,000-hour period. TVs that ran regular refresh cycles showed significantly less permanent retention than those that didn't. The danger zones for burn-in, news tickers, sports score bugs, channel logos, static navigation menus left on screen for extended periods. If you watch a lot of live sports or news, your OLED needs that refresh cycle more often. One Costco reviewer who bought an LG C3 65-inch wrote, "Noticed a faint ghost of the CNN ticker on my screen. After 6 months, ran the pixel refresh 3 times over 2 weeks, and it mostly cleared. Wish I had known to run it from the start." Bottom line, if you own an OLED, find the pixel refresh option in your TV's support or picture menu and run it manually every few months. It takes an hour. It can save you from permanent damage that no warranty covers, because burn-in is classified as user misuse, not a defect. The 8th mistake: ignoring the room lighting and letting the TV compensate for it badly. Almost every modern TV includes an ambient light sensor that automatically adjusts brightness based on the room. This sounds smart. In practice, it creates problems. On Samsung TVs, the Eco sensor can dramatically dim the picture during bright scenes if a lamp is positioned near the sensor on the TV's bezel. The sensor reads the lamp as ambient light and assumes the room is brighter than it is, then dims the screen to compensate. The result is inconsistent brightness during viewing that owners often mistake for a panel defect. The fix is simple. Turn off the ambient light sensor. Manually set your brightness once for daytime viewing and once for nighttime viewing, or just find a single setting that works across both. More importantly, room lighting affects picture quality far more than most people realize. Ratings and CNET both recommend a bias light, a strip of LED lighting placed behind your TV that puts soft light on the wall. It reduces eye strain, makes the TV feel more immersive, and makes colors appear richer. A basic Govee or Philips Hue Play bias light strip costs $25 to $60. That $40 improvement is more noticeable than upgrading from a $700 TV to a $1,000 TV. 1 month's trying to calibrate my TV settings. Added a cheap bias light from Amazon and suddenly everything looked better. I should have done it the day I set it up. Bottom line, disable your TV's ambient light sensor. Set brightness manually. Add a bias light behind the set. The combination costs almost nothing and makes more of a visual difference than most expensive settings tweaks. Here's what you should walk away with. The single biggest mistake most TV owners are making right now: vivid mode is still on, the backlight is maxed out, and motion smoothing is running on every piece of content. Those 3 settings alone accelerate wear, distort picture quality, and reduce how long your TV lasts. The settings to change today, in order: switch out of vivid or dynamic mode. Go to cinema, movie, or filmmaker mode. Drop the backlight to 45 to 55%. Turn motion smoothing all the way off, whatever your brand calls it. Disable auto update and switch to manual firmware control. And if you own an OLED, find the pixel refresh and run it tonight. If your smart TV's built-in platform is crawling, stop fighting it. A $40 Roku stick fixes the problem in 10 minutes. None of these changes cost you anything. Most of them take less than 5 minutes. And every one of them has a direct impact on your picture quality or how long your TV lasts. The people who know these settings are the people who get 10 solid years out of a $700 TV. The people who don't are the ones shopping for a replacement at year 4 and wondering what went wrong. What's the setting you wish someone had told you about when you first got your TV? Drop it in the comments below. It might save someone else the same frustration. And, if this was useful, subscribe. This channel is for people who want to actually understand what they're buying before they find out the hard way.